Hello friends, how are you doing? Today we are going to go through a blissful story of first meeting of Shri Dilip Kumar Roy with Swami Brahmananda. Swami Brahmananda, or Rakhal Maharaj as he was known, was a direct disciple of Shri Ramakrishna Paramahansa and first president of Ramakrishna Mission and Ramakrishna Mutt, which were founded by Swami Vivekananda himself. Ramakrishna used to refer him as his Manas Putra, or a spiritual son, and as a Nitya Siddha and Ishwar Koti. Before we go ahead, a great applause to all the subscribers. Your like, share and comments do make a difference. For all the new viewers, do like, share and subscribe with the all option to my channel and to get notified for such contents in time. Shri Dilip Kumar Roy, or D.K. Roy, was born on 22nd January 1896 in Krishnanagar under Nadia district, West Bengal. He was son of famous Dwijendralal Roy and was an Indian musician, musicologist, novelist, poet, essayist and an yogi. He lost his mother in childhood and was brought up by his father. At the age of 16, however, he also lost his father and was brought up by his wealthy maternal grandfather, who was a distinguished homeopath physician named Pratap Chandra Mazumdar. Shri Mazumdar had also been a physician to Shri Ramakrishna Paramahansa during his last illness of cancer, and thus he developed a close relationship with all his disciples too. In 1918, Dilip had passed BA with honours in mathematics from Presidency College and wanted to go to Cambridge for higher studies. Before sailing to England, Dilip's grandfather wanted him to marry in India, but Dilip refused for marriage. Grandfather, afraid of modern life in England and its possible consequences on the young lad, wanted to get a protection of blessings from Swami Brahmananda before Dilip would sail abroad. Dilip Kumar Roy has described this incident of his meeting with Swami Brahmananda, or Rakhal Maharaj, in his autobiography named as Pilgrims of the Stars. Let's hear it in his own words. He says, "My grandfather said, 'Since you are gifted with a mulish obstinacy, I am forced to implore him to give you his protective blessing against the deep danger you have decided to run like a fool. Swami Brahmananda has great powers, real divine powers, as everybody knows. But you too must help me, praying earnestly that he may fend off the disaster.' He took me to meet Swami Brahmananda. We entered the house of late Balram Bose, who was another direct disciple of Shri Ramakrishna, where Swami Brahmananda was staying at that time. He was at that time the president of Ramakrishna Mission and was worshipped by thousands of devotees as a shining example of how a yogi should comport himself in life, dominating it like a king, yet not bound by his kingdom. As we entered the living room of Swami Brahmananda, which was on the first floor, the great yogi in an ochre-colored robe turned and greeted us with a simple smile. 'Oh, Pratap Babu,' he exclaimed, seeing my grandfather. 'This is indeed delightful.' The two old friends talked on for a while in great joy, after which I was brought forward and duly presented. My grandfather, having once started to complain of me, went on volubly blaming me for everything with every conceivable epithet. Then he said, 'He is not a bad boy though,' he extenuated, 'and I will say this for him, he is rather good in his studies. Has passed this year with first-class honours in mathematics. But I am worried, Swamiji. You see, his father has left him a fairly large fortune, and then, as he has already attained majority, there is no holding him. But the trouble is, Swamiji, he is too downright by nature, and temperamental, and impulsive, and modern. That is the worst of it, modern. So he refuses to marry. God knows why.' An amused smile edged the great saint's lips. 'I quite understand, Pratap Babu,' he said. 'But what is it that you would have me to do about it? Surely you don't expect me to coax him into marrying, I being what I happen to be, a monk, untied to the world.' But then he added mollifyingly, 'Why not leave it to him?' 'I would willingly, Swamiji,' explained my grandfather. Only the trouble is, he insists on proceeding at once to England. And I am well afraid for him, don't you see? He's rather impetuous fellow and has plenty of money. And you know, perhaps you don't, but I know how quickly things come to a head there. He will march straight into the snare and come back with a minx all painted and wrought. And that will be the end of everything. Sheer ruin, I predict. So I told him, at least take blessing of a great saint and have a protection for you. Oh yes, I forgot to tell you, he added ruefully. He happens to be a musician, simply sings and sings away. And you know how dangerous that is when young girls are about. But he was cut short by Swamiji, who addressed me eagerly. You sing? You sing, my boy? Why, that is very nice. Won't you sing something to us? A song about the mother? I mean, do you know any? I was overjoyed and complied readily. I choose a song, a famous Kali Kirtan of the great devotee Kamalkant, Majlo, Amar, Bhramora, a song Shri Ramakrishna used to love, which I had set to music in Rag Bhairavi, which translates, my soul's a honeybee of love, the mother's lotus feet invite, and intoxicate, I fly to lose my world and all in her delight. As I sang, Swamiji's face became transfigured, almost self-luminous. Then he lost outward consciousness altogether and passed into Samadhi. I went on singing, my eyes fastened on his trance-still face, till I could see no more through my unshed tears. When I paused at the end of my song, peace had descended into me, a deep peace which seemed to fill the very intensities of my being. I felt, with a vividness I do not know how to describe, that he had blessed me while I was singing. And all the time, the great yogi sat, a statuesque figure, hardly breathing, a beatific smile on his face. Holiness was there and purity, and for me, romance. We waited in silence till he came back to normal consciousness. Then he looked intently at me in silence. I lowered my eyes, soothed and trifle embarrassed under his steadfast scrutiny. Suddenly he turned toward my grandfather and said, with a beautiful smile, Pratap Babu, have no misgivings. He will come to no harm abroad. My grandfather stared at him. He smiled again. Do you know what I saw while he was singing? I saw an aura of protection around him. Thakur's, Shri Ramakrishna's aura, which is an armor. I tell you, and I know what I am speaking about, so let him go where he will come back unscathed. He may, indeed, stumble sometimes, but I can assure you he will not fall. Then turning his face toward me, come my boy, come nearer. I could hold myself in no more and rested my brow on his feet, and tears of joy and gratitude found an outlet at last. He stroked my head gently. The touch of his palm soothed my entire being as a cool current of deep peace coursed down my body from the crown of my head till it touched the base of my spine. When I lifted my eyes to his, he was still gazing at me tenderly. Won't you give me some advice? I faltered wistfully. He held my eyes for a few seconds. A gentle smile trembled on his lips. Only one thing, he said, his voice hardly above a whisper. Remember always. Remember? He nodded. Yes, that is what Thakur used to tell us so often. Smaran, Manan. To remember constantly. That is the essence of yoga. And remember his grace, Thakur's. And keep reminding yourself, I have received his grace, I must be worthy of it. And then all will be well. These were the only words of advice he gave me, and they were etched forever on the tablet of my heart. I wandered in India and wandered more in England. Every time I was accosted by temptation, and I told myself every time, remember Rakhal Maharaj, repeat on your rosary, I have received Thakur's grace and must be worthy of it. This invaluable admonition never once failed to give me the needed strength to quell the temptation. But the modus operandi of divine grace cannot be described in human terms, because it operates from a plane beyond the vital mental. This story is a beautiful illustration of a blessing of a true saint. Mere words and glance of a true saint are enough for a real devotee to get an immeasurable strength and help in his or her individual spiritual journey. Saints know more about you than you do about yourself, and hence their blessings provide what is really required for you at the moment. Dilip was a brilliant scholar. After going to England, he gained a tripos in maths from the Cambridge University. After a certain amount of deliberation, he forsook a materially prosperous life to enter under the guidance of spiritual master Sri Aurobindo. More information on Sri Dilip Kumar Roy can be found on the website http://www.harikrishnamandiriindraniloy.com. I hope you liked the story. To like and share this blissful story with a wonderful message with your friends, and don't forget to click the subscribe button with all options to get notified for such contents and time. Till the next content, be blessed and happy. Thank you.